and I'm the host of the Natural Health Report. And today, there's someone really interesting that we're going to talk to because Katrina, is it Starzinski?
Starzinskaya.
Stars in the Sky. Okay. She developed Lyme's disease in 2009. And most people, when they get Lyme's disease, I was one of these people, it devastates your life and it completely ruins all of your hopes and dreams. And it puts you on the sideline for either the majority of your life or for your entire life. But there is hope, and Katrina's living proof of that. And 3.5 years later, she overcame her Lyme's disease. She's a best-selling author, and she's also a qualified mentor in the realm of health and nutrition and wellness. So I want to welcome Katrina onto the call.
Thank you so much, Matthew. How are you?
I'm great. I'm glad you're here because Lyme's disease is horrible. I've had it, and you've been there, and most people lose hope. So where do we begin with this Lyme's disease topic? What would you like to start and give people right away?
Definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
so probably I will start with my story, the way I became sick and diagnosed, so people know a little bit of my background. I was really healthy before I got sick. I was into healthy lifestyle, vegetarian, doing juice cleanses, and one day I woke up extremely sick overnight. Half of my face was paralyzed and half of my body was numb. I was in excruciating pain, and I ended up in the emergency room. And doctors basically sent me home with an idiopathic condition, meaning no known cause and no cure. And then I went to many other doctors, and they told me nothing was wrong with me. They couldn't figure out what was going on. And the similar story, many doctors told me it was all in my head. All my lab tests came back normal. And about a few months later, I became even more sick, and I was taken by ambulance into emergency room. And there they did maybe 20 different tests. Everything came back normal, and then they were about to release me home when not even a doctor, a resident, told me I should test for Lyme disease. So at that moment, I was so happy because finally I knew what was wrong with me, and finally I knew I was not crazy. But when I got home and Googled Lyme, I knew I had a long road ahead of me. And I think the scary part is that some people were talking about their Lyme LLMDs, and they would say, well, my LLMD also has Lyme disease and their kids have Lyme disease, so I can trust them because they know what they're doing. And I was so terrified. I thought, oh my gosh, if a medical doctor can't heal themselves, I mean, how are they going to help me? So that was the beginning of my journey. And then I went to see my first Lyme literate medical doctor, and they told me, well, it will take a long time. You have to start like on 5 different antibiotics, and then if it doesn't work, we'll do more, and then if it doesn't work, we'll put you on IVs. So I started off as almost everybody else on doxycycline for a few months, and I was getting worse and worse. And when I came back to see my doctor, he told me, well, let's start on IVs and try 5 different drugs. That day I decided that would not be my healing journey. I would have to take full responsibility and figure out what I can do for myself. Um, Natural route, and I started doing my research and trying all kinds of natural treatments.
That's great. So, can you explain to me? Because I was one of these patients, and I was on doxycycline, tetracycline, and other things for almost 2 years, and it was horrible because that completely destroys your immune system and in your
Yeah.
gut flora. So, what is a Lyme literate medical doctor? What does that mean to you?
So that's a doctor that specializes in Lyme disease, and basically those doctors, they do not tell you you are crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. Even if your blood tests come back negative, they still can diagnose you based on your symptoms. And actually, Lyme disease is diagnosed based on your symptoms because tests are so unreliable. I think there are 50% false negative or false positive. So people should not rely on blood tests. And those doctors, they have special protocols developed specifically to treat Lyme disease. They don't see any other patients, only specializing in Lyme disease.
Okay. I'm glad you explained that because I know many people don't understand. They go to the regular doctors. I did that myself. And they put me on anti-anxiety drugs for a long time, and I didn't want to take them because I said, I'm not anxious. There's something else wrong. And like you, my deterioration happened very fast. And within 6 months, I had lost over 30 pounds, and I was shaking all the time, and I wasn't able to eat much. In my brain, I couldn't think, I couldn't speak. So this was a rapid deteriorating issue. So how did you handle the fear that comes up so that you became very empowered pretty quick? Is that something you've always done? Have you always just had a natural positive outlook on life?
Great question. I think actually it was completely opposite, and I think that's why I got sick because, as I told you, I was eating healthy, exercising, doing yoga. So basically, I thought I was healthy, but I still got sick. And there are so many people get bitten by a tick, and they don't get sick, so their immune system is much stronger. And I think the reason I got sick because I used to live in New York City, and it was very loud every day, so a lot of pollution and stress. And I was not that happy. I was not a positive person. I was constantly in survival mode, trying to make it in New York. So I was not that empowered. It just I had to make a decision. Either I change my life completely and become a new person, or I would be sick and tired and depressed for for the rest of my life. So it was a conscious decision, and I knew that first, I make a decision in my head, and then my body would follow. And it was not overnight, of course. It was a long journey, but it was just a lot of work on myself, on my mental attitude, and that's how I became more positive person.
Okay. I
How
know it's
about
easy.
you?
Well, I was very negative for the first 2 years because I was in my bed all the time, and I didn't think there was a way out of it. I thought the end was in sight. But I think I discovered some similar things that you did. So let's talk about the positive spin on this. What was the first thing that happened in your life that gave you a little bit of hope?
Awesome. So, first thing was to realize that there are so many actually negative and skeptic people online because we all start Googling right away and finding, stories, what's going on. And there are 90% of negative people that are saying, I've been sick for 10 or 20 years and I tried everything, nothing works. So, of course, that's going to make you depressed. And you have to look for people that heal themselves. And it's much harder because those people moved on with their lives. Like, I don't go to those forums anymore for many years because I don't like I moved on with my life. So it's very important to find role models, find those who heal themselves. And actually, that was my one of my secrets. I found people that healed themselves from any kind of incurable illness, AIDS, cancer, MS, Alzheimer's, Lyme disease. And I interviewed them, and I found the same pattern. They had the same lifestyle changes, treatments, positive attitude. So I started modeling them, and I kept what worked for me, and then I got rid of what didn't work for me. So that was basically the first step, model them. And I think I would still get depressed and disempowered when I would relapse, and I thought, it would just be always like that. I would never be healthy again. My main breakthrough was at Tony Robbins' seminar, actually. My
Mm,
first seminar, I went there, I was pretty sick, and first night when we do firewalk, I thought to myself, I mean, that's impossible. Your cooking stove is like 600 degrees Fahrenheit, and if you walk on those hot coals that are 2000 degrees, and
mm.
if your body doesn't burn itself, it means your mind is so powerful that it can control everything. So that was my decision. I didn't know if I would be able to walk and not burn myself, but I thought if my mind is able to control my body and I walk and I don't burn my feet, it means that my body is able to to heal itself. So when I walked on those calls and on the other side of my walk, I already knew that I would be able to heal myself. It's going to take some time, but I had 100% confidence and faith that I will be healed.
That is cool. I have never done the fire walk, but I've always wanted to. So that's a transformation that took place. You actually changed your state of being.
Yes.
You decided, when human beings make a decision, then the whole universe shifts to conspire to that decision. You actually made a clear-cut decision, like Tony Robbins would say, and then everything sort of followed from that. Is that what happened?
Exactly. And also you just mentioned a great quote, when you make a decision, the whole universe conspires to help you achieve it. So that was one of the quotes I had in my bedroom, and I had few more quotes, something like, your body is able to heal itself if given proper stimulus, and Lyme disease is no exception. So don't ever get discouraged that something is incurable. Get empowered, get well. That was one of the quotes I kept in my bedroom, in my house. And every time I relapse or I feel depressed, I would read those affirmations out loud, go read more inspiring stories, and that way I would change my state, because I had a few moments when I got very discouraged and disempowered, but it's all matter of changing your state back into more positive mode.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing where I started to get better for a while, and then, stress would kind of wear you down, and then the negativity would come in from the outer world to your inner world. And once you let that in, then the symptoms would start coming back, and then the mind would try to say, "Oh no, that was all fake. We're not going to get well." But then you just go back to what you did the first time, and you start to crawl back out of that hole again.
Yes.
Yeah, and look at you today. I mean, I just have to say, I'm looking at you in the screen, and you look like a 5-year-old magical child. Like, you exude perfect health and well-being and creativity. So you've done it. You've successfully conquered this thing. So you took the fire walk, and you knew that this was going to happen. You knew you were going to get well. Mm-hmm. So then what started to happen? Then, tell me about how you got your strength developing, and how you started to get well again, so you could be back in the gym like you are today and live a powerful life.
Definitely. So I was back in the gym. I think my biggest break from the gym was 32 days from the day I woke up like partially paralyzed to when my body started working again. It took me like 32 days, and then I went back to the gym. Even if I was tired or I could not do something, I knew that I have to push my body, I have to do something. And that's my advice for other people. If they are extremely tired and have fatigue, they still should go for a walk or stretch, do something, because if you don't move your body and if you just lay down in bed all day, it's not gonna promote your healing. So I was really pushing myself. Even healthy people push themselves to go to the gym, so it's not easy. But again, it's mind over matter. And it's a great question about working out, because I found that hot yoga was one of the main modalities that helped me heal, because after I made my research, I was really impressed that people with AIDS or terminal cancer were healed by hypothermia. So they would go into extremely hot sauna, and when you increase your body temperature, it kills all the bugs, all the foreign invaders. Basically, it's like an artificial fever. That's why we get fever when we get sick. Our body is healing itself. So I decided I'm going to create an artificial fever every single day to help my body. And also, when you sweat so much, you're detox. And it's so important for people struggling with Lyme, because we have so many neurotoxins, and all our symptoms are basically caused by the toxins. So it's a great modality to help healing. Go to sauna and do hot yoga. That was one of my main modalities.
Yeah, and I want to back up what you said, because when I was really sick and I was bedridden, I never gave up. There were days that I could only do a few push-ups. I did those every single day, no matter what, even if that's all I could do. And then I started walking around the block because that's all I could do. And then eventually I started carrying my son in a backpack and walking him around the park. And then today, I'm back to full strength and full recovery. It's been 4.5, almost 5 years now. So, but what I want to say is that, like you said, you have to keep that focus, and you obviously did that. And I called you 2.5 years ago. I remember because I was still, in my process. I was 80% well. I wanted the rest of it, and I remember you told me about the hot sauna
Mhm.
and the steam room, whatever the hot saunas. And I said, okay. I started doing that, and I also bought a biomat, one of those biomats and
Mhm.
infrared sauna, and those actually helped me quite a bit. So it's really good stuff.
Awesome. And of course, it's really important to have a healthy diet. If people, eat junk food, no matter how many antibiotics they take, if you lead a very unhealthy lifestyle, it's gonna be very hard and long journey to recover from any kind of disease. So it's important healthy diet.
Yeah. Now, a healthy diet. What does that mean to you, Katrina?
Well, for me, healthy diet was and still is plant-based, sugar-free, and I'm not perfect. I am really addicted to sugar, so for me, I have to make sure I don't have anything in the house. Otherwise, I would be binging on sugar all the time. So,
Yeah.
yeah, plant-based, organic, and plant-based might not work for everybody. For some people, if they absolutely need to eat meat and all kinds of animal proteins, I think it's okay. But as long as we eliminate dairy, because dairy is really creates a lot of inflammation, um, like for right now, I don't have any allergies or health issues, so I'm okay with gluten and soy and anything like that, even though I try not to eat it. But when you're sick with Lyme disease, it's crucial to eliminate gluten, soy, casein. Make sure you eliminate all kinds of inflammation from your body. So yeah,
Yes.
and make sure it's organic and non-GMO, of course.
Yes, and I did the same thing for my first year and a half. When I was really really sick, I had to switch to that diet as well. I went plant based, organic, raw, and I made sure that I spent the money I had. I put it into the food because that was the best option I could think of. And I want to
Mhm.
also add, um, before that, before I worked with somebody that really knew what they were doing, I was spending about $800 a month on a lot of vitamins and supplements, and most of the vitamins and supplements on the market are actually toxic,
Yeah.
and they didn't work for me. So you got to really do your due diligence when you're looking into things. And the best place to start, I agree with you, is the plant-based, organic diet. Nature can be your medicine.
Mhm.
And let's talk about modalities because there's a lot
Sure.
of modalities out there. What are some of the things that really kind of put the puzzle together for you?
Of course, and before I mention modalities, I love the point you just mentioned. You spend like $800 only on supplements, and
Yeah.
many people would say, "Well, I'm so sick, I'm bedridden, I have no money, so for me, it's not even possible." And I think this is like one of the biggest roadblocks for people. And I always say that I came to this country by myself. I have no family here, and when I got sick, also I lost my job. I was in medical school, so I had to open up every possible credit card to pay for my treatments.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a decision. Either you go in debt and you heal yourself, or you live a miserable lifestyle, sick and tired for the rest of your life. So everything costs money, but you can't really put a price on your health. And I've done several treatments that I think that helped me a lot, and they were not cheap. So one of the treatments, hydrogen peroxide IVs, I felt instantly much better because it oxygenates my body, it detoxifies. Also, I was doing frequency healing. It's similar to Rife Machine. I did Rife Machine too. I'm not sure if it was working for me or not, but I was doing biofeedback machines like on the mat, and I also felt a huge difference. And it was pretty expensive, so I didn't do a lot of treatments, but I felt huge difference.
Yeah.
For those people that are completely opposed to spending any money, I think even again, like going to sauna and healthy lifestyle, being positive helps even more than treatments. I've done a lot of herbal supplements, everything possible, like samento and Chinese herbs and nutraceuticals, every possible. herb that can kill bugs. It's hard to know which one works. I think you're the same way. You were taking everything
Yeah.
because I was so desperate. I was taking everything. I didn't know what
Yeah.
was working. Something was working. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. We maxed out every credit card and we ended up bankrupting and losing everything. But see, I had the same thought as you. I said, look, I got to go all in because if I don't get well, we'll never be successful. We'll never have anything because if I'm sitting in this bed, we're screwed. And so I went all in, and it was right after the bankruptcy. We bankrupted, lost everything. But then right after that, I started to figure some things out and build companies that have done millions of dollars in sales because there is hope on the other side, but you have to believe in yourself and you have to just put yourself first, honestly.
definitely, yes.
So now did you want to talk about ACT? Do you want to bring up some of that?
Sure, sure. So, actually, I was really skeptical about advanced cell training, and when I just got sick and I started Googling all kinds of treatments, I saw online advanced cell training, and I ordered their kit, and I think that kit was for about a year and a half in my house. I didn't really watch it, or maybe I watched and I thought, oh my gosh, that's a scam, I don't know what is this.
Yeah.
So I started doing ACT about a year and a half after I got sick, and again I was seeing improvements, and I was doing all other treatments as well. So
Yeah.
it's so hard to know exactly what was working. However, I do believe advanced cell training works magic because it was not just me. We had like 40 people in our class, and because we journal our symptoms, so every single person would report next week that their symptoms went down, and every single week 40 of us were getting better and better. So I knew that it's something is working, even if it's a placebo effect, even if it's maybe I am thinking that advanced cell training working, maybe something else. I didn't care. As long as something was working, I was happy. So I highly recommend to listeners to try out advanced cell training because I still don't understand how it works, but I do believe it works because thousands of people report that they were healed from Lyme disease after many years of trying all other treatments. And I would like to know your experience, actually, Matthew.
Well, I agree with you. I ordered the kit and I got the free information, and I actually carried the magazine around with me everywhere I went 24 hours a day for about 3 months. And then finally I spoke with Gary and I got in, and I think it was class number 30 or 31 in our group number 30. And I remember that it took me about 4 to 5 weeks before I started to notice anything like significant, but then the sim 19 weeks, and then I think I had reached a point where I was well enough that I just wanted to go. I just wanted to do my life, so I went and I started working again, and I dropped out of the class, but I did go back and finish after about a year of being out of the class. I went back, tidied up, but I do want to say, if you're thinking about really doing this right and getting well, I also had health mentors, and they were exceptional, and they're not cheap because the people that really know what they're doing, their time is valuable. And I put my money into those people because I think it was like your scenario where the group that I had with advanced cell training was so important, and it did work. I don't know how it works either. I thought it was ridiculous, but it actually worked. But it was the whole thing. It was the people I worked with. I found out the right products that worked for me, and the puzzle came together, and I just never gave up. And so that's the secret. Just never give up and always be willing to try something new in my world.
Definitely, and that's great that you mentioned mentors because I actually was so blown away with the results of advanced cell training that I called Gary and I said, listen, I want to meet you. And he said, I'm booked up for the rest of the year. And I was like, I don't care. I'm in San Diego. I'm going to fly out to Boston and drive to Rhode Island and see you. And we had like 85 degrees here in San Diego. I think it was February. And I flew out to Boston. It was snowing, snowstorm, and it was freezing. I rented a car and I drove to see Gary, and I knew that he was a real deal. He had a private session with me, and I felt results. And then I flew two more times from San Diego to Boston just for 1 hour private session because I believed in him so much, and I knew that I need his mentorship in order to recover. So, yeah, and he's not cheap, as you would say, but it's definitely worth it. I highly recommend to everybody seek out mentors and people that really can help them because it's so important to stay empowered and positive versus just trying to use Dr. Google and find all kinds of negative stories online. It's gonna hold you back.
That's true. Yeah, and Lyme's is so devastating that I don't think I would have made it without the mentors I had. I had Gary and I had a couple other people in my corner that were exceptional. And they weren't cheap, but I'll tell you what, they worked, and that's all that mattered. I got myself well. And because Lyme's is like if you have a flame burning, like somebody that's overcome this thing like you have and I have, you take somebody who doesn't believe and you put them up to the flame, they're going to start burning too. Your certainty that you can overcome this is going to trump the doubt that they've been playing in their head over and over and over from all those negative people on the internet, because it's very hopeless. That's the emotion. You start to feel hopeless when you get immersed with all the wrong people and they tell you that you'll never get over it. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to live with it for the rest of your life, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And who wants to live in that state? Nobody does. So I agree. You get a mentor, and then you decide to only focus on where you want to go and listen to the people who know how to get past the issue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, don't take away from your medical doctor as a disclaimer. Don't ever, replace your medical doctor because it's important. And other than that, move on to somebody that can help you as well.
Absolutely. And I think most of my clients I used to work with, the first issue was to overcome their doubts and install faith in their heads, because all of them were saying, well, we read your story online and you said you were so healthy, you were vegetarian, and I'm not so healthy. So will I ever be able to recover? And I had to work so hard to install that state of certainty in their heads in order for them to take action and actually recover themselves. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you're not gonna take action and do all of those treatments.
That's true. And I know that fear is the fountain of disease. Whenever you have fear of a disease, it's very unlikely that you're going to see the solution and the way out because you're so entrenched in the problem. So when you're focused on the problem, that's what you get, is you get the problem. You have to get outside of the problem to the solution, and that's what a good mentor does, is they help pull you outside of the problem so you can be the solution to that problem.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I've spoke with you in regards to this, and if I were in the position, I would definitely work with you, and I'm one of the ones that actually got to get through this too as well. So anything else that you want to talk about? Because I know a lot of people out there, they're still going to be thinking, if they have Lyme's, they're going to still think, well, Katrina, she's a best-selling author. She's a motivated person. I'm not motivated. I haven't done anything with my life, so I'm screwed. That's they're going to think like that because they're going to say, oh, she's pretty, she's motivated, she's from another country, she's not a lazy American like us. They're going to have all these doubts in their head. So what would you tell somebody like that right now that's listening to this that thinks, I just don't know. You haven't sold me yet.
A great question. So first off, I was not that motivated again before I got sick. All the motivation came after I healed myself because I already installed that software in my mindset that anything is really possible. And I still go through a lot of ups and downs. However, I don't let fear take over my life. And I think the first step is to, again, find people and stories, books, online, offline, and read those stories that will encourage you and empower you. There are so many healing stories. I remember there is a book, Roger's Recovery from AIDS, and that story inspired me so much because a man was diagnosed with terminal AIDS and he was given 4 weeks to live, and he completely changed his diet. He went on a juice fast. He was using sun therapy, so basically he was sunbathing for an hour a day. And there is a misconception: people think that sun causes cancer, but usually, sun is created by nature, by God, so it's a healing tool. It doesn't really cause cancer. It heals you. So there are so many books and stories to study and follow and model those people. And anybody can recover from any kind of disease because our bodies are such a miraculous machine capable of feats that scientists don't even understand. As long as you give it proper stimulus and stay positive, it's not an overnight cure, but slowly your body will restore itself and heal itself.
Yeah, and it is not an overnight cure. You said it took you several years. It took
Yes.
me about, well, it's been 5 years since I first really got sick. But today, I believe I'm at 99.9% well. I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm healthier than I was in the last 10 years, even before I got the illness.
Hmm.
But it's not just life itself is never going to be easy. So you always have to, what you said, reach out for somebody that has the answers, the right answers. And you have to put faith in that person because they've done it, they know what they're doing. And you have to follow only the advice of people that are successful.
Yeah.
I've met people, and I get a lot of people that have Lyme's that come and they ask about what'd you do, and I tell them what I did, and I always bring up the ACT because we talked about that, and
Yes.
you would be surprised. I've had so many people say, I don't want to do that, and I'd say, well, why wouldn't you at least try? They said, I heard it was a scam, and I'd say, well, you heard it was a scam from who? From somebody else who never did it, or they were still sick? Well,
Exactly.
somebody didn't get well. And I'd say there is no such thing out there that's going to get everybody well. Everybody's got a unique puzzle to put together. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great point that you model and keep whatever works for you and modify. If something doesn't work, just move on to next thing.
Yeah. And let's talk about, okay, what is it worth on the other side, Katrina? Like, how do you feel right now?
It's unexplainable, and I'm so happy to have my energy back. And I even forgot what brain fog means because I remember it was so frustrating. You can't really control your body, you can't control your life. You make plans, and then in next moment you have such a bad brain fog and fatigue and pains that you are not able to do anything. So I celebrate every single day, and I think that disease was meant to be for me because again, I was not that humble. I didn't appreciate my life, and I wasn't that rat race. So waking up unhappy and stressful, going to bed unhappy and stressful, and now even if something happens. Something goes wrong in my relationships or in my business, and as soon as I get into that state, being feeling like a victim, I tell myself, well, this is nothing compared what I overcame. This is nothing. I have my life back. I'm healthy and happy. So now nothing can make me really distressed or depressed or unhappy because life is so beautiful on the other side. And I hope that every single person that's watching, they will recover soon and also experience joy and positivity of life.
Yes. Do you have any advice for people who are really, really hurting financially? And I know a lot of people don't feel that they can do absolutely anything because of the symptoms. I felt that way when I had mine. What would you tell somebody that says, they feel like an absolute failure right now because they can't provide for their family or they can't support in the way that they would like to, and they want to be productive, but they feel so down on themselves? What would you tell
Yeah.
somebody like that right now?
Well, I also felt the same way for several years, so I know how it feels, and it's only temporary. Maybe it's 2 years of your life, but you have 70 more years. So just have faith that you are able to recover and take one day at a time. Again, find people that healed themselves and model what they did, and your body will follow.
Yeah. Now, a success tip. Let's say, what is the number one thing that you hear from people that you think is the common denominator that keeps them stuck in their pattern of sickness? What is the number one behavioral trait?
Number one thing is being a victimized state. People asking questions like, "Why me? Why did that happen to me? What did I do wrong?" Instead of being kind of a warrior and saying, "You know what? This happened to me, and thank God, I didn't get hit by a car. I still have a chance to recover. So
Yeah.
what can I do today? One step, what one step can I do today to help my body heal itself?" And it's just asking the right question and stop being a victim.
Yep. And sometimes it's hard. I remember this when I finally bottomed out. I played the victim very well, and I was really good at that character. So what happened is when I was starting to, right after the bankruptcy, and then they came and they took my car away, and then I got kicked out of my place, and I remember thinking, wow, I have nothing. I don't have any health. I don't have a car. I don't have any money. I don't have a house. I remember just crying and just bawling and thinking, I'm screwed. And I just want to tell you, even if you bottom out to that level, fast forward a few years from that point where I was at, and I was living higher than I've ever had in my entire existence. I had health back. I had a 7-figure business, and I was living a dream. So even if you're in the worst of all situations and it feels absolutely destitute, you could just be that far away from living the life of your dreams still. So never lose hope, because it could be right around the corner.
That's great. I agree with your statement.
Yeah, and you live it. And what's exciting is that I look at it as it was my training ground. I like to change the way you perceive the problem, and I couldn't do it while I was in it. I could do it today because I know now today, if you change the way you look at a problem, the problem changes. And I look at it as it was my biggest strength building experience in my life. I don't think I was that strong until I went through that experience, and it forced me to actually learn how to stand up for myself, to put myself first, to model only successful people, and to really guard my mind from negativity, because those were the things that I really had to learn, because those were the areas that were breaking me. And all around in my life, that's why I never had any money. That's why I never had any good relationships. So all these behaviors, they had to go anyway. So this was almost like my meeting with destiny in like a Navy SEAL boot camp of physical illness, where it was either survive or die. It's your choice. And I was like, wow, here it is. This is like game time. I'm either going to win or I'm going to die. So I was like, I have to win. And that's what I felt. There was no option to fail. That's why money, who cares? Honestly, most self-made millionaires have one thing in common. You know what that is, Katrina?
If they lose their money, they become a millionaire again.
They bankrupt and they get rich all over.
Yeah.
So who cares? Honestly, you got to be wise with your money. You don't want to give it away for nothing. But if your health is in the line, if you have to choose between your health and your money, choose your health, because without your health, you're going to lose your money anyway. So choose your health. Buy the right foods, get the right mentors, and take a chance on yourself. Believe in yourself, and believe that the universe will give you the answers if you have faith.
Yes, so true.
Yeah. All right, so let's add on to this, and let's say, what does it take to become a client of yours? What is it going to take for me to be a successful client of yours if I want to be a client?
Well, great question. To be a successful client, actually, it requires a lot of commitment and dedication. First is, of course, commitment. So if a person is not committed to their health, nobody can help them. So if you go to the best doctor in the world, that doctor is not as interested in your health as yourself. So you must be absolutely committed, and you must be willing to take in actions. And mentor is there just to support you and guide you and encourage you when you have fears or if you feel disempowered. However, you are the person that will be doing the job. And because I'm so busy with running other businesses, I don't really want to waste my time on people that trying all kinds of things and they say nothing works, because it means they didn't try everything. When they say nothing works, they tried maybe 3, 4, 5 treatments and they gave up. So basically, a person has to be committed to their health, to taking actions, and being in a warrior state versus victim. And also, because we already spoke about advanced cell training, I think it's amazing and it's crucial to also work in groups, because you support each other when you're surrounded by 10, 20 people that are going through the same journey, and they're all encourage each other, and you see the results. When I've heard results from people that were sick for 20 years and they report in 4, 5, 6 weeks their symptoms went down 50%, I knew, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be well as well. So it's so important, and I do encourage people to work with me in groups, because it helps. I think it helps a lot to change your mindset, to be empowered and encouraged by your community. And I do have groups running every 3 months. It's a 3 months process, and I think we'll post a link below for anybody who wants to see free online training and then decide for themselves if it's gonna work for them or not, if they want to join. It's actually really inexpensive, and first training is absolutely free for people to test it out.
I love that. I love that you do that with the groups. That is so powerful. I read a book by. Have you heard of Lise Rankin? Her book Mind Over Medicine.
Yes.
She talked about how the community, the environment, that the probability of getting well when you're in a loving, supportive environment is so much higher. And the probability of ever getting well is almost nothing when you're isolated and alone. And most people that are really ill like this, that the tendency is to want to isolate yourself. And then you start to become plagued with anxiety and depression and fear, and it just starts to snowball down. But that doesn't work. I mean, that you're actually taking statistical odds and putting them against yourself in a very bad way. And the opposite is what is required to get yourself the odds in your favor to support. That's the epigenetics of healing, Dr. Bruce Lipton's work. The environment influences the DNA. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I learned in advanced cell training, and you're incorporating it too, is having that community where everybody can empathize because they're all in the same boat and people are starting to get well. You start to build your faith, and then your belief comes, then your certainty comes, you start to gain some improvements, and then you start to say, you know what? I was bedridden 2 months ago, and today I'm actually starting to exercise a little bit again. You start to see your way back to normality again, and then it gets exciting, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So in closing, I want to add one thing before we close out here. But if anybody wants, and you can offer this and post a link for just the price of shipping, I'll send them a copy of my book, How I Broke the Spine of My Chronic Illness, and I'll give that away for anybody that wants it for free. And it talks about a lot of the things that were mentioned here, like the advanced cell training, some other things that I discovered that worked for me, and then work with Katrina. I would do it if I were in the situation. I'd be all in today. I would do everything we talked about here. And that's what I want to end with. That's kind of what I want to close with. How about you, Katrina? What do you want to?
Thank you so much, Matthew. So I'm very curious about your book, and you said anybody can get it. So how do people, how do they reach out and get your book?
Well, my website is www.rnadrops.com. And you can get a free ebook copy of it just for submitting to our newsletter. And then for a few dollars, you can just call us. We have an 888 number. And for a few dollars, just for shipping, you just give us a call and we'll send it in the mail to you. You can have a hard copy of it as well. And yeah, just ask. Yeah.
Great. And I'm sure you will post a link below so people can just click and go to your website and read your book.
We'll make it real easy. Yeah, you just click the button, order the book. And yeah, that's all for me. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Matthew. I really enjoyed this interview, and thank you so much, everybody that were watching. And I hope you have gained some faith and encouragement that you will get well too.
Yeah, and give Katrina a call. I did a couple of years ago. Katrina knows what she's talking about. Get yourself a coach. Forget coach. Coach is mentor. Get a mentor, right?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Matthew. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.